spring 165 AD, Roman legions marched triumphantly through the eastern gates of the empire. They've returned from the Parthian frontier, bringing back gold, captives, and something far deadlier. What began as a victory parade was the opening act of a 15-year nightmare. Within months, the Eternal City itself was counting its dead by the thousands. This is the story of the Antonine Plague, a catastrophe that killed up to 18 million people, roughly 1 in every 3 citizens of the Roman world. It was a mortal wound from which the empire would never truly recover. And chillingly, the threat it posed hasn't entirely disappeared. Our story begins with a detailed account of the physician Galen. He described soldiers collapsing in camp with high fever, violent coughing, and a strange rash that turned black. For centuries, the exact cause was a mystery. But in 2019, modern genetic studies published in the Lancet Infectious Diseases finally confirmed the culprit. An early strain of smallpox, Variola major, one of the most lethal pathogens humanity has ever faced. So where did it come from? The outbreak almost certainly ignited during the siege of Seleucia on the Tigris in 165. Roman troops, led by co-emperor Lucius Verus, sacked the city and looted its temples. The historian Cassius Dio tells a chilling tale. He claims the soldiers opened a golden casket in the temple of Apollo, and a foul vapor escaped. The Romans laughed at what they thought was a local superstition, but within days, their camp was a hospital. The CDC's historical unit now lists this incident as one of the clearest examples of a pathogen released from an ancient tomb, a pattern that repeats today as thawing permafrost uncovers millennia-old graves. By the year 166, the disease had reached Rome. Galen, now the personal physician to Emperor Marcus Aurelius, recorded the symptoms with chilling precision. It began with 9 days of high fever. Then, a pustular rash would erupt, covering the body from head to toe, turning the skin into a mask of scabs. Those who survived were often left blinded. The mortality rate hovered around 30%, but in the crowded barracks and tenements of the city, it skyrocketed to nearly 70%. Even today, the World Health Organization ranks historical smallpox at the top of its list of eradicated yet revivable threats. As recently as 2017, viable virus was recovered from 300-year-old frozen bodies in Siberia. From his palace, Marcus Aurelius watched his empire bleed out. The Historia Augusta records that the emperor burned incense day and night. He sacrificed entire herds of animals on the Capitoline Hill, but nothing could stop the tide of death. The Roman legions, already stretched thin across every frontier, lost up to a third of their fighting strength. Recruitment collapsed. In desperation, the emperor was forced to enlist gladiators, freed slaves, and even Germanic prisoners men who were once considered enemies of Rome. The golden age of the Pax Romana, the famed Roman peace, had reached its point of no return. In the cities, the scenes were apocalyptic. Cassius Dio wrote that carts rumbled through the streets at night, their drivers crying, "Bring out your dead," an eerie echo of what would happen in London 15 centuries later during the Great Plague. Bodies were left in the open because the grave diggers themselves were dying faster than they could dig. For months, the smoke from mass funeral pyres hung like a shroud over Rome. According to FBI historical analysis, the Antonine Plague triggered the first documented collapse of public order in the capital. Looting, desertion, and religious hysteria became rampant as terrified citizens turned to foreign cults that promised salvation. The countryside offered no escape. The plague traveled along the empire's magnificent road network like a silent cavalry charge. In Egypt, the breadbasket of Rome, entire villages simply vanished. Tax records from the Fayum region show a 30% drop in population within a single decade. The economic chain reaction was merciless. Grain shipments to Rome dwindled, causing prices to soar. Inflation began its long, destructive spiral. Economists at the University of Cambridge estimate the plague wiped out up to 30% of Roman GDP, a staggering blow for which the Western Empire never fully recovered. One of the most terrifying aspects of this ancient smallpox was its speed and stealth. Galen noted that victims were contagious even before they showed any symptoms. The CDC calls this stealth transmission, the same mechanism that made smallpox a category, a bioterror agent until its official eradication in 1980. The threat, however, didn't vanish completely. Declassified CIA files from 1989 confirm that Soviet bioweapons scientists in the 1970s kept live stocks of ancient strains, some recovered from Scythian tombs. There are fears that some of these samples may still exist in unsecured Russian facilities. More recently, a 2023 paper in the journal Emerging Infectious Diseases warned that the synthetic reconstruction of the variola virus is now theoretically possible using mail-order DNA. This terrifying capability is why smallpox remains at the very top of the WHO's list of potential pandemic pathogens. By 180 AD, the plague had been raging for 15 years. It was in this year that Marcus Aurelius himself died, possibly of the disease, while on campaign along the Danube. By then, the empire had lost between 10 and 18 million souls. To put that into perspective, demographic modeling by the Max Planck Institute suggests the population of Roman Europe didn't return to its pre-plague levels until the 10th century. That's a recovery that took over 800 years. The Antonine Plague was not just a medical disaster. It was a fundamental turning point in history. The Golden Age of Rome didn't end with a climactic barbarian invasion. It ended with a virus, a microscopic enemy that slipped past every legion, every wall, and every prayer. Today, archaeological excavations continue to unearth evidence of this ancient tragedy. In 2017, a mass grave discovered beneath the Vatican necropolis revealed dozens of bodies hastily buried with lime. Many of the surviving bones showed the characteristic pitting scars of smallpox. In 2021, DNA extracted by the University of Rome confirmed it. Variola major. The story of the Antonine Plague serves as a powerful and sobering reminder. It shows how a single pathogen can bring a mighty civilization to its knees. The CDC maintains active surveillance for any re-emergence, because smallpox hasn't truly vanished from our planet. It waits. It waits in laboratory freezers, and perhaps it waits in the thawing permafrost of the north. One victorious army in 165 AD brought home something far more destructive than glory. One traveler tomorrow could unknowingly do the same. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the past insightful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world. See you next time.